Well, saving as much as possible with your car. Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for the special Car Corner edition of Prudent Money. Good afternoon and welcome to the Prudent Money Radio Show. I'm your host, Bob Brooks. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Well, if you got a question for me, I've got an answer for you. Just go to the website, www.prudentmoney.com. Once you get to the website, just go to the link at the top of the page and click through and ask a question and send that in. We'll get you taken care of. That's all that is all at the website, prudentmoney.com. Well, Tony Joe is here as it is Friday, the special Car Corner edition. He always comes in on Friday to answer your questions, talk a little bit about one of the most expensive areas of life, and through many decades when you need one is an automobile, which is the motivation for doing this program. And it's quite the blessing to me to get to do this with Tony Joe, and we have a great time doing it every Friday. And if you've got a question for Tony Joe, we're not taking them live today because there's a lot of things we want to talk about. And you can go to prudentmoney.com and send it in. Just make sure you put as much detail as possible. Well, Tony Joe, how are you today?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I am doing good. I'm going to make sure your mic is turned up because I got to make sure you're taken care of. Mm-hmm. There we go.
Because most of the time you fail to turn it up. I think that's inherently on purpose, but
fail is a tough judgmental word.
Funny how every time you address me, you turn the volume down. Like,
I don't know what you're talking about. How would you like to save a little bit of money? Of course, I got to thinking about this. You're going to drive anything that's sitting out there that may be yours or may not be yours. And you're going to take one of them home, and then I'm sure you got your own truck, right? How many cars do you think you've got? Enough?
3.
Just 3?
3 vehicles, yeah.
3 vehicles?
Well, I like different vehicles for different occasions.
And so something, yeah, right. Like your Ferrari, right?
Bob, how many times do I have to explain? It's a Lamborghini, not a Ferrari.
Oh, my bad. I thought there was a similarity in the way they look.
Get it right.
Okay, well, you get to take that out. I get it. But saving as much money as possible, I think, is something people are really starting to think about, considering how much it is these days to maintain. I mean, I'm sure you know a good mechanic that can take care of it in a cost-effective way. Your automobiles, right?
Well, yes, I have an advantage, of course. I mean, I do this for a living, but let me tell you, those are the last ones on the list.
They are the last one.
Nobody wants to fix that car.
So maybe this program is for you.
Yeah, it's basically how long can you go before the wheels fall off and have to do something.
But when you look at the cost of maintaining these cars,
let me just say the cost of maintaining a vehicle is inherently true today as it was back in the 90s, the 80s. There was a really kind of a trend that always seemed to hold true, and that was the more you pay for a vehicle, the more the maintenance is to keep it up. Now, that used to mean you're driving a Chevrolet versus a Mercedes, driving a Dodge pickup compared to a Lexus. The higher-end vehicles cost more to maintain, but now, Bob, I've noticed that even a Chevrolet, like a Suburban that's $100,000 now, even that is, because of the price, now that is higher, just as high cost to maintain as some of the European cars used to be. So the trend is still holding true, and there is no choice. You are buying cars now that are they're twice what they used to cost.
Well, there's that, no question. And then there's the whole inflation issue. And I always like to take, at least once a month, I like to ask the question, what are you seeing from your customers as far as actions? Because it's all about something that happens in the economy. People react to it. They either react negatively or positively to it. They're already in a particular environment that may be good or not be good. So what are you seeing? Let's just start first with all the people you interact with on a day-to-day basis.
Well, it depends on their financial situation. I guess I would have to say, in general, not everybody, but in general, what I see is people fixing, do I need that right now, or can I just fix the immediate problem? But there is an issue with what's becoming an issue anyway is the computer systems are so interactive with each other now. They work on a network. And for instance, Bob, let me just give you one quick example because I can just think of it right now. What's the one thing you got to have to get an inspection now? Check engine light can't be on. Can't be any codes in there. They don't care about the tires or the headlights or the windshield or anything else. You could have no brakes. So you could still pass inspection as long as the check engine light is not on. We are encountering cars where the check engine light will come on for other than drivability issues, as in computer networks. The vehicle that I'm working on particularly has 31 computers on a network of communication. If the light comes on or a code sets for, say, the front fog light is out, it will set a code in the network stating that the bus line is down or something, and it'll make the check engine light come on. Who cares about the check engine light for something like that? However, you can't get the car inspected. So it's becoming severely more complicated to try to get the check engine light off, have a clean bill of health when you go to get a state inspection. Used to be it was only pollution or emission related issues, but now it's becoming a little more common to see other things, power seat modules, heaters, driver's door modules, things that will make the check engine light come on. And it's just not fair. I don't think that's a good way to handle that kind of a situation. If the person doesn't care if his driver window doesn't work, why should it fail inspection? They could care less about anything else on the car.
Yeah, so it's never thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just frustrating for me to see what I have to tell people now. You got to fix that. Why? Because it'll make the check engine light come on and it won't pass inspection. So it's just frustrating. I don't like giving that kind of news to people that I've known for 30 years, but unfortunately, that's the way it's trending, and there's not anything I can do about it.
You know, it makes me. We're talking about the whole idea of being proactive, and do you believe that yes, you can that you can save a lot of money being proactive with your car? And there's a lot of ways to be proactive, or is it just this hit and miss thing that sure you tried, but probably you're no better off by not doing it?
Well, I would tell you this is kind of a bold statement, but it's only my opinion, so keep that in mind. Yes, you can be proactive, and one of the best ways I can think of in today's environment is to get more information. I know cars are a boring topic, especially for women. They don't care. They just want to go, put gas in it, and go. And I know unfortunately, it's a boring topic, but it is very, very important in your financial life to be able to have enough information to keep from being ripped off. That's my big statement about today's environment. You need enough information, whether you like it or not, or whether you're interested or not. You got to keep from being ripped when you know that it's, well, I don't say you know, but let's say I know a mechanic or a oil change, for instance. They bring me an air filter and they say, Tony, you need a new air filter. And I look at it and the thing looks like it just came out of the box. I go, well, okay, you be polite and you don't make a fuss and you say, okay, I'll have my mechanic address that in the future. Thank you. Or they bring you an air filter that's so dirty, they say you need an air filter, and you look at it and you can identify that air filter, whether it's an air filter for the engine or a cabin filter for the car, whatever. You can identify it and say, oh, it is nasty. Okay, so those kind of things are easy to find out. You go online and you look at a picture of a dirty air filter. you look at a picture of a clean air filter. I mean, there's not a lot of to it that you can't gain the information to know enough that when he presents you with that particular, that's just one little detail out of many, but let's say you didn't know what an air filter was supposed to look like. We can look it up online, and you can see that's the advantage of modern technology. You can just look at two pictures and say, well, does it look like that, or does it look like that, or is it in between?
You know, something else that I'll throw in the mix there when we're talking about, regular things that you go to the dealership or mechanic, whoever you go to, and it is these service, these times where you got to get your car serviced. It's at 40,000 miles or whatever. And, you know, what I have found is that can really serve you well to do some work,
gaining some information.
finding some information out. Because what's amazing to me is that you could take five different people driving the same type of car at the same mileage, and it seems like they would come out with five different bills, some which are hundreds or more,
thousands.
Mm-hmm. It's just really it's. I mean, what do you do if you don't have a good mechanic that's going to really take care of you? You know, you can trust him or her, and what do you do?
Finding a good person that you can trust is the first thing you need to do. And how do you do that? Well, you network with friends, family, church. You find out, and you get a popular opinion amongst a certain group of people, and you say, well, let me go try that guy. Now, your instincts mean more to you than you think. Your instincts will probably give you a heads up right away whether you trust this person or not. And I will tell you a story that happened to me this week, Bob. I just thought of this, that I want the listeners to understand, just so they try to get more information or have a person they can trust. I had a customer call me from an oil change place. I'm getting my oil changed. I'm going out of town tomorrow. They're telling me that I'm out of coolant. Out of coolant. I said, well, you can't be out of coolant or you would be overheating. Well, no, they're telling me that I'm very, very low and that I need to replace the coolant, flush it. I said, okay, let me just make sense of this. They're telling you that it's almost empty and they just want to flush it. That is not going to address the leaking issue, because you shouldn't be out of coolant. How many people listening know that you shouldn't ever use coolant? You don't use it up. You don't burn it up like gasoline. You don't use it like washer fluid. It stays in there forever until you have a leak, and then it disappears. So I said, it doesn't make sense. She goes, what do you think? And remember how we advised get a second opinion on it?
Right.
She said, what do you think? Should I tell them to do it? They want $179 to flush it. I said, well, I will tell you my opinion. I don't see why flushing it is going to do you any good, because if you flush it and put clean antifreeze, then you're just going to leak clean antifreeze until it's gone.
Right.
So you need to address the primary problem. I said, I'll tell you what, just tell them, okay, I'll address that with my mechanic. Thank you for the information. And I said, can they at least fill it up for you? No. She asked them. Nope. Our policy is we can't fill it. We can't touch it. If you're not going to do what we want you to do, we can't even fill it. I said, where are you? She was about 10 minutes away. I'm thinking it's really low, okay? Because that's what she's telling me.
Right.
I said, I'll just get the oil change done, pay them, and bring it over here. Let me pop the hood and look. She brings it over. We pop the hood. My son was with me at the time when we walked out there. Not that he was really going to help me. He just happened to be walking by. I said, Nathan, look at this. She gets out of the car. Before I said anything, I said, Nathan, they told her that she was out of coolant and it needed to be flushed. He looked at it and he goes, that doesn't look like it's low to me. It was right up to the line, and it was clean and pretty green. Not green, it was pink. It was good-looking fluid. It was full right to the max
healthy.
line. Mm-hmm. So that, in my opinion, is plain and simple trying to cheat somebody. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to pull punches. That's plain and simply trying to cheat somebody. She went to San Antonio. Good time was had by all. Never had any trouble. You know, she didn't need it. absolutely didn't need it. Now, how can you defend yourself against something like that? You need information. It's very simple. Just familiarize with the car a little bit. You can tell on a lot of these fluids when they're full and when they're not full because you can see through them. And my advice is, not that everybody's going to do this, but you get Texas dust and dirt and stuff on those see-through plastic reservoirs. Take a little bit of cleaning fluid, Windex or Simple Green or something that is cleaning fluid. And if you'll just spray onto them once in a while, it'll wash the dirt very easily off the side. You can see through the bucket. You keep it see-through. You can see the max, the min line. You can tell when it's full, if it's lost any. It's really easy to do some of this stuff, and it is a great deal of protection against someone who is not as knowledgeable about a car that a full-fledged mechanic is, because many of the people, that's not their business. How do they protect themselves? How do these poor folks keep from being ripped off when they don't know any better and they're trusting the guy that's telling them they need all this? Well, the only thing I can tell you is to gain some information on some of this simple stuff. It's easily observed online. If you address the particular thing you're looking for, bring it up. There's demonstrations, there's pictures, there's things that are so easy to do, and it protects you in the future from somebody telling you you need this, this, and this, and you look at the fluids and go, I don't need that.
Yeah, I guess, it comes down to this feeling that, I've got to go through this big education process. You just need to learn
It's not that difficult.
what
Right.
is what's a red flag.
Right.
And,
I'm not
and
saying-
have a system and process in place
Right.
to identify what you do when you see a red flag.
Very well put. I'm not trying to make anybody into a 40-year educated technician, auto technician. I'm just trying to look at some simple things that you can do yourself that protect you from being upsold. We call it, the new word is upsold. So you try to protect yourself against that. And I do, Bob, really. My heart, I put myself in a customer position sometimes when I'm, watching TV at night or getting ready to go to bed. I put myself in a position of, okay, I don't know anything about a car because I have kids of my own, and unfortunately, they know a little bit more than the average person about a car. But what if it was my child and they didn't know anything about a car and I didn't know anything about a car, and my daughter goes in to get an oil change and they try to sell her $2,000 worth of upsold operations. Well, that would anger me, to say the least. So how can I tell people that, okay, I don't know a lot about a car, but I do know I can do this, and that will give me at least give me an edge on whether I should steer away from this place. And at worst case scenario is go get another opinion. Before they tell you you need all this stuff, go get another opinion, see if you really do need this stuff, and that's going to involve someone you can trust. And that's probably the main thing you can have in today's environment is somebody you can trust that knows about cars.
It's interesting, of course, knowing you for, as long as I have, that one story is just one story of hundreds, maybe even thousands of stories that you've experienced firsthand or seen.
Mm-hmm.
And, what just bothers me, I guess, is that it's such, something goes wrong with your car, and you see this all the time. It's just a stressful situation. You don't know how. I mean, especially if it's kind of a big problem. You don't know how much it's really going to cost by the time it's all over with. You might be set. You may not have somebody like yourself, Tony Joe, who's your main mechanic, take care of you, and just a lot of stress.
Yep, sure is. When you think about losing power, you never really appreciate it until you lose it for 2-3 days. Your phone is on the blink, and you can't use it today. I know people that would literally run amok and just go crazy if they didn't have their phone. Your car, you don't realize until you don't have it operational. You're like, oh, man, I can't go here, I can't go there, I can't get to the store, I don't know how I'm going to pick the kids up. I understand how much it means to a person to have a mode of transportation. And without it, there's just really not a lot. I mean, this society is built around transportation.
Sure, sure. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the special Car Corner edition of Prudent Money. If you got a question for Tony Joe, got a question for me, you can always go to the website, www.prudentmoney.com. There is a link at the top of the video webpage. Just click through and send us an email. We would love to hear from you today and whatever's on your mind. That's all at prudentmoney.com. You know, we've talked about this. I want to reintroduce it based on the topic we're discussing, is that records, when you're going to buy a car, and I would guess, you would know better than I would once again, I would guess that there's going to be a smaller percentage of cars that are for sale today. Let's say all your cars are for sale. Okay. That you're going to pop open the glove box and you're going to see all the records there. I mean, and most people don't realize, wow, what a gift that is. But, you know, it's not only it tells you what's been done, but that could be a tool to use as far as being proactive once again.
Or, yes, I'm sorry.
On being proactive as far as, you know, what really does need to be fixed and replaced.
Well, let's look at this really quickly. Records, well-kept records. It's not hard to do. You'll get a folder, and every time you have a repair on your car, you throw the receipt in there. Even if it's messy, you can always straighten it up. Records give the buyer of the car an opportunity to see what has been done, how well it's been taken care of, and if there are any really big problems with the car, has that already been done? Because there are common failures to every make and model, particular to every make and model, in a lot of cases. For instance, real quick, Nissan Altima had a really big problems back in the day with the transmissions going out. They were the CVT transmission. That's a problem. That's a $3,500 job. Now, if you were approaching a car that you wanted to buy, for instance, and you had this Nissan Altima, and you look in the glove box, and you see that the transmission has already, let's say, I remember, Bob, they used to go out around between 100 and 120,000. Well, let's look at this car. It's got 110,000.
Right.
Has the transmission been replaced already, or am I about to have to eat that bullet? You know, well, if the records indicate the transmission was done back at 92,000, then hey, this car is worth more than it would be if the transmission has not yet been done, and it's a common failure to this make and model. So before I price during the negotiation process, before I put a price on this car, you better consider that, because it was a really common problem. Okay, so there's that. Then to your point directly, being proactive. Has the oil been changed on time? Have there been any really red flag problems that would be considered that the car was in an accident, or maybe something severe like an engine was replaced for some reason and you don't know why, or even some odd repairs that were done? 2 lower control arms in the front, yeah, it's possible they just wore out. But what if there was some more parts with that indicating that, you know, maybe you had a front end accident, things like that. So all these things have to be factored in, and that's why records either make the car, well, they do make the car far more valuable if you have good records. So it works the other way too. When you go to trade it in, if you have records, you're going to get more for that car if you have good, well-established maintenance records of that vehicle. You'll get more for it.
Yeah, and once again, you've got to be intentional to do that. You've really got to take the time. And you know, I was just thinking about the amount of research you can easily do on the internet. And you know, there's this human nature aspect of you that goes, oh, don't worry about it. You're not going to find anything. Just go buy the car. You know, you get that. It's going to be just
Remember
fine.
The car that you were looking at one time, and we just happenstance to look at and we found something pretty severe.
But it was right out there in the open.
Right.
Good stuff, Tony Joe. Always good to see you, and
you,
I think people really benefit from this. This is Bob Brooks. You got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.